Anyone familiar with translated Japanese literature will know this name, I'm sure. Edward Seidensticker. He translated several works of Japanese literature into English, namely The Tale of Genji by Murasaki Shikibu during the Heian period. There are several translations of The Tale of Genji. One of the other most famous translations, speak English, is by Arthur Waley. And apparently, according to this obituary, which is in the New York Times from August 31st of this year, 2007, it says that his versions were a little bit more down-to-earth than Arthur Waley's. And it said, translating The Tale of Genji, as Mr. Seidensticker later describes it, was a labor of love that took 10 years. At the time, the most complete English translation available was by Arthur Waley, published in the 1920s and 30s. Though respected, Waley's translation was lavishly Victorian, and it fell on Seidensticker to produce something sparer. So they kind of compare the two translations. And it says, here is Waley's version of the tale's opening line. At the court of an emperor, he lived it matters not when, there was among the many gentle women of the wardrobe and the chamber one, who though she was not of very high rank, was favored far beyond all the rest. And now we have, here is Seidensticker's, short and sweet. In a certain reign there was a lady, not of first rank, whom the emperor loved more than any of the others. Which I think would be pretty much, it's pretty much simple, pretty simple compared to Arthur Waley's versions. He was also famous for translating works of Yukio Mishima, Junichiro Tanizaki, and Yasunari Kawabata, who did Yukiguni or Snow Country. And Tanizaki is famous for Some Prefer Nettles. So there's also some comments that Seidensticker made about these authors, and they're put into this article, which I'm just going to read really quickly for those who are interested. It says, Tanizaki wrote clear, rational sentences, Mr. Seidensticker wrote. I do not certainly wish to suggest that I disapprove of such sentences, but translating them is not very interesting. There was little I felt inclined to ask about Tanizaki. Not so with Kawabata. Do you not, my esteemed master, find this a rather impenetrable passage? Mr. Seidensticker recalls asking him, ever so gently, during the translation of Snow Country. He would dutifully scrutinize the passage and answer yes, Mr. Seidensticker wrote. Nothing more. So, very interesting man, born in Colorado in 1921. Graduated from the University of Colorado in 1942 with a degree in English. Went to the Japanese Naval Academy on the West Coast. I think he also fought in Pearl Harbor and Iwo Jima. And then he moved to Columbia University, got a master's degree there, and then went to Tokyo University to study Japanese literature and lived in Japan for many, many years. And is very famous, so anyone, just kind of a note about that. So those of you who weren't interested in about this part, I'm sorry, but I just felt like I should mention it. I'm about to close this video, and I can't believe I've talked for so long. My future videos are going to start including sightseeing in Japan. It's a new kind of series I also want to include among my other random videos that might come up. So sightseeing in Japan and sightseeing in Tokyo. So one of my first sightseeing in Japan videos is actually going to be a collection of pictures, which may be boring for some people, but a collection of pictures I took last fall when my parents were visiting. It was their third time in Japan. but they stayed with me for about 3 weeks, and it was a great trip. But they were here for a really long time, and they stayed. But I love my parents dearly. But we lived in my one-room apartment, and there's a habit. Actually, there's a trait in my family, my mother's side. They snore very, very loud. And I remember as a child, my grandmother would come stay with us, and I'd be really happy that my grandmother stayed with us. But she stayed in my room, and she snored very, 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 very loud, and I could never sleep. And I used to have all these stuffed animals around me, and at night I would just throw these stuffed animals to try to get her to stop snoring. And she'd wake up and she'd have all these stuffed animals around her. She's like, "Why are these stuffed animals all around me?" And I was trying to get you to stop snoring, that's why. So it was kind of funny. But my mom also snores. So when they're both in the house, it would start with my grandmother snoring, and then my mom would snore. So it's like we'd go back and forth, and all the air, I swear, in the house would go this way and that way. The air would go this way, the air would go that way. But also, when my parents were here, my dad has one ear that he can't hear out of very well, so he always sleeps on that ear, and so my mom's snoring doesn't bother him. But I love my mother dearly, but the snoring really does bother me. And the thing is, my dad has started snoring too. So when my mother snores, she's like, sucks all the air in and then blows it out. And then my dad's like, poo, poo. I don't know what he's doing. So when they were staying here, my mom would be like, and then my dad would go, poo, poo. It's like they timed it exactly right. So my mom would suck the air in, my dad would go, poo, poo, and then my mom would suck in the air again. So for 3 weeks, I didn't really get a lot of sleep. But anyways, the sightseeing in Japan. Sightseeing in Japan will, in the beginning, be maybe the first 2 will be just mainly pictures from our trips during that 3-week time. We went to Sendai and Matsushima Bay, which are really beautiful. Especially Matsushima Bay has some really interesting land formations in the bay. I definitely recommend going there. Also went to Hiroshima and Miyajima. Hiroshima to see the Peace Park, and Miyajima to see the big tori in the middle of the water. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, kkajapan. So it's really great to see, and I'll put up maybe 2 videos of those, and some of the places I went to recently in Tokyo. So it'll be sightseeing in Japan and sightseeing in Tokyo, or other places in Japan and Tokyo. So this is the end of my really long vlog and me talking for a really long time. Thanks for hanging in there, and see you next time.